Good morning, honorable members.
Honorable Chair.
Good morning, Chairperson.
Good morning, honorable members.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, Chair.
Honorable Chairperson.
Are the honorable members okay this morning?
Well, perfect.
Yes,
Thank
we are.
Passing on.
Good morning, honorable members. Thank you so much, honorable members. I guess we are ready to start our meeting.
Good morning, Chairperson.
And if we are, can I take this opportunity to welcome honorable members and everybody else who's part of this meeting. This meeting is meant to do everything else, but in the center of that is for us to make sure that we complete the work of shortlisting candidate for the AG's position. And if we agree on that, I will take the opportunity to welcome everybody. And as I'm doing so, I will ask Mr. Peter Paul and his team to also be ready so that we quickly get into today's business. Having welcomed everybody, and Mr. Peter Paul and the team are going to put today's agenda so that we can all see, we know, but we just want to make sure that we see it in front of us. And as we are allowing them agenda, we will go to, as I have already opened the meeting and trust that we are ready, I will go to the second item. And the second item, honorable members, be the actual business of today, which then is to shortlist. But can I allow Mr. Peter Paul just to outline the agenda quickly for us, please?
Thank you, Chairperson. As soon as I've sorted things out on my side here, I will put up the agenda, but for progress, let me greet the honorable members and all present in the meeting. And Chair, just to remind members, as per the discussions of our last meeting, that as you correctly say, Chair, that there are, at the center of it all really is the shortlisting of the candidates for the position of the AG. But before then, Chair, I mentioned that members will remember that at the last meeting, there was some discussion after the receipt of the legal advice from the Legal Services Office on an implementation plan of the legal advice received on how we will really go about giving it effect. So we will ask before anything that members, we had sent a proposal. So that will be the first item of the implementation plan of the legal advice. Which will then be followed by the shortlisting itself. And right at the end, again, coming from the deliberations of the last meeting, the issue around the logistics when it comes to the interviews and the process itself. The members had said then that when we know where our candidates will be coming from, we can then start discussing the issues around of the area where we would wish to hold these interviews. So, Chair, those are the three main things. One, the implementation of the legal advice, the plan. Secondly, the shortlisting itself. And thirdly, the issue around interviews. Chair, back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Paul. I guess in our midst, we do have, as part of your team, the content advisor, which is Mr. Xoli Mxaji. We also have Mr. Andile Mpunga and Ms. Pesi Hlepezi. All those are from the Office of the Institution Support Democracy. We also have in our midst Advocate Frank Jenkins, which is from the Legal Service, as well as Shanaz Gabriel, who is from HR. Ladies and gentlemen, you are also welcome into this meeting. Thank you for making yourself available. We appreciate your presence, but we also appreciate honorable members. We are now going to ask Mr. Peter Paul to outline or take us through on what is this that is an advice or a plan insofar as the advice is concerned on how best are we going to go through to make sure that we recognize that. Are honorables members happy with that?
Yes, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Paul.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'm just struggling with the Deputy Chief Whip, but I've asked IT to take care of that. I think they will send it through now to her. Chair, let me go ahead with the issue around the implementation plan of the legal advice.
I hope we are not losing you, Mr. Peter Paul.
No, Chair, I'm with you. I'm with you here. Just
Okay.
I'm opening up a document.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Chair. So, honorable members, the implementation plan is as we had sent to you the day that followed our meeting last week, immediately after that meeting. And in that plan, members, as we would have read, that we meet today to do the shortlisting of candidates, as you had requested. We applied for permission, and it was granted by both the House Chairperson and the Chief Whip. So, members, the proposal is then that once you have shortlisted today the candidates, we must seek the candidates' permission to publish their CVs on the parliamentary website. We will ask them for the versions of their CVs that exclude their personal details. And the proposal is that after this meeting, we will inform them of their shortlisting and ask them for this information, and they must give it back to us by end of business tomorrow. We had also said that I shared with you an MIE consent form, which is a personal credential disclosure form, which I shared with you, which we will also share with them today after they have been shortlisted. This will be used by an independent company that's contracted to Parliament. The name of the company is MIE, and that one is used to do thorough background checks on each of the candidates. I know that Honorable De Villiers had raised issues to remind us that it's important that we do the background checks thoroughly on qualifications, experience, criminal records, etc. So that form that I shared with you serves that purpose, and the colleagues from HR will be working with the company then to collate that information for the committee. That form will also be returned with the CVs tomorrow. And then from Thursday, the 6th of August, the CVs of the shortlisted candidates, the ones that they will have given back to us tomorrow, will be published on the parliamentary website with calls for public comments. I'd mentioned that we work closely with our colleagues at the media unit, and they will release statements and whatever else is necessary to make sure that the message is out there to say that the committee is calling for public comments on the shortlisted candidates. And this will go on until Friday, the 14th of August, the end of business on that day, which then allows for 7 working days, which we think is sufficient, and 9 days in total if one includes the weekend. There were also proposals around the need for the development of questionnaires and scorecards to assess and evaluate candidates as per practice. I speak for the team that has just been introduced by the chair in saying that indeed members, the development of those questionnaires and scorecards is at an advanced stage. And it is something that we will share with you in due course, certainly enough time before the interviews. Members, that's all in all, that's the proposal that we believe will give meaningful effect to the public participation process. Whilst it's also in keeping with your own adopted program, which means that there will be no need for any further changes to the program that we adopted. It will still see the committee finishing the process around the 25th of August, when it will be ready to report to the NA on its recommendations for the president. Chair, that is all for now. I hand over back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Paul. Honorable members, that what we discussed in our last meeting, and this is now the actual program that we will follow in making sure that the public is part of the process, and the committee does in the best way make sure that it owns the process, because anything that might go wrong will come back to the committee. But also anything that is the best in our ability will also come back to us as a team. I'll then ask honorable members who would want to say something on this. Honorable members, please, if Mr. Peter Paul can identify people whose hands are up, but honorable members, we are nice and few. You can also raise by just unmuting and indicating if you want to contribute on this matter. I'll allow honorable members to do so.
Chairperson Buthelezi. Chairperson, can I come in?
Yes, Honorable Buthelezi, please do come in. Anyone else after Honorable Buthelezi? Okay, Honorable Buthelezi, please.
Chairperson, even before that, I just wanted to check, did we get apologies in the meeting? Are there any apologies or all in here?
Thank you, Honorable Buthelezi. Sorry for that. Can we quickly get to hear from Honorable Mr. Peter Paul? I know that the Honorable Deputy Chief Whip was struggling to come in, and I think the IT was assisting in this regard. Therefore, she's not late in the meeting. It's just that she is struggling to log in. Can I get to hear from Mr. Peter Paul whether there are any apologies?
Thank you, Chair. Indeed, we should have taken care of that. You are correct, Chair. We don't have any apologies received. As you say, that the only one that we're just waiting to come in, I think in a minute now, is Ms. Dlakote. Otherwise, we have not received any apologies. And Chair, while I'm at that, I need to correct something that on the list, we erroneously excluded the name of our researcher, Mr. Muselo Hlekiso, who's also part of the team that you announced. And I think I have a request from my for my manager who's watching me and asking that I must advise that, Chair, when you do speak, please go on video and request of all members to do the same when they're on the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Paul. We'll try. I have some difficulties with my gadget today. I really don't want to press because I don't want to lose the meeting. I'll try my best anyway. But for now, I guess I'll try. If Honorable Buthelezi wanted to say something beyond the apologies, please.
No, that's fine, Chairperson. But I think the process which has been outlined by Mr. Peter Paul Mbele, it's a process that will ensure that we do everything, we're transparent with the process that we are running, and we allow the public to participate by making comments, as it has been suggested, once the once the names are published in the parliamentary website. Thank you, Chair.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Honorable Buthelezi. Honorable Singh, your hand was up, please.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning to you and to colleagues and our support team. It's good to see some of you back again, alive and well. Chairperson, no, thank you to the team for having crafted those guidelines in terms of public participation. As Shanga had said, I think it goes a long way in ensuring that our process is transparent, open, and we give the public an opportunity, those who are interested, to make comments on those candidates who have been shortlisted. I just wanted to find out, and getting permission from them is also very, very important. I just wanted to find out, in terms of the background checks that Honorable de Villiers spoke about, will it include academic checks, financial checks, intelligence, etc.? Will it be a comprehensive background check on the candidates? And then the second question will be, Chairperson, is that I'm a bit worried that if we go up until the 14th, which I have no problem with for public comments, it leaves us with just very few days over the weekend to be able to read through those public comments, make an assessment for ourselves and things like that. So I'm just flagging that I don't know if the 18th will be suitable for the committee itself to have privately gone through the questions and do our interviews on the 18th, because we'll also have to get permission for the 18th, because it's a plenary day as well. Our third term starts on the 17th, I think. Yeah, on the 18th, and goes on until the 3rd of September. So I'm just thinking that the team might need to consider whether or not we as a committee will have enough time to look through those public comments that we get. It has to be shared with us. So that's another thing that I'm flagging for now, Chairperson. And then obviously in your background checks, like we do in the JSC, we ask about political affiliations. Is any of the members holding any active position in any political party currently, and those kinds of things. So I just wanted to make sure that the check includes all of these areas. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Singh. I guess all those questions are going to that team that is being appointed by the Parliament to do all those. In the case that what Honorable Singh is raising is not part of the package, if they are present, can they please indicate, or the office that is responsible for that, can it be able to respond now, so that by the time we conclude, we are all clear on all the questions that we are having as honorable members. As I'm getting to those, the team, Mr. Peter Paul, welcoming Mr. Lahlekiso. Can I get any other additional question that is relevant to what Honorable Singh is asking, please, honorable members, so that we give over to the team to respond, either here or later on.
Chairperson.
Yes,
Chairperson.
Honorable. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Chairperson, I support the proposal by Honorable Singh with regards to the background checks and being done, the overall package of references that needs to be followed up, and that it be done simultaneously with the process that would lead to the inputs for public by the public with regards to the candidates. And equally so, I think he is proposing a very important point, and which is to check whether we will be able to meet our deadline in terms of the 18th being the day of the interviews, wherever it will be held. And that we probably today take a decision with regard to that if we propose a later date or whatever. But I think it is something worth considering. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Peters. If there's no any other member that wants to take a bite on this, can you go to the team if they can respond to the questions? But also, I guess, honorable members, we are suggesting that as that time of allowing the public to have their consent, and us sitting to look through and really package that and get to now the actual interviews, all that must be considered. When Mr. Peter Paul comes back, he must also take us through on those possibilities within the timelines that we have. If he can, he responds within the timelines that we have, what the honorable members are suggesting. I'm calling upon Mr. Peter Paul and the team to please speak on this matter. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Peter Paul.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you very much. Chairperson, the contributions are well received. And I do hear the concern. Like I said, then I've got a team with me. I know that on the question around the background checks, I'm going to ask Ms. Shanaz Kabir, who is from HR and has worked for some time with the company that does background checks. She'll give the members an idea of the kind of background of the process that MIE company undertakes in doing those background checks, just so that members are comfortable with that. It's safe to say on the issue around the timelines, Mr. Singh, when we talk about preparations, the content for the interviews and preparations, I think I'm going to discuss with the team around the issue of the received comments by the public. But as far as the scorecards and in fact the questionnaires and those kind of things, as we had said, those we are almost done with and will be ready to share with members well before the 18th. So in terms of internally, we'll be prepared for the 18th. We just need to devise indeed a way to make sure that we take into consideration those public comments that we received. It's not a proposal yet, but just from the top of my head, I'm already thinking that perhaps one of the solutions could be sharing those public comments in real time as they are received with members as we go along right up to Friday for members to engage with on an ongoing basis. But like I say, in terms of the committee's internal preparations for the interviews themselves, will certainly be ready for the 18th. It's a thought, members, bear with me. I think we'll be able to come up with a plan as we always do and advise you accordingly. Chair, with your permission, may I call on Ms. Shanaz Kabir to just speak on the issues of background checks? Shanaz.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members.
Sorry, just Sorry. So my apologies. Just before Ms. Shanas, please. I want us, honorable members, to conclude on what Mr. Paul is coming with. He's saying that you can consider and they will bring it as it comes in. I want to put before honorable members whether we will not need just a 1 hour meeting so that as we are receiving, we might have different views on those matters. Can we have a meeting where we are going to conclude all those, and as the committee we have the same understanding, and whether we are fine with how we have agreed on insofar as the public participation is concerned, then we agree even before the actual interview so that we put that into rest and proceed. But also Mr. Peter Paul is saying they might be ready with the internal processes, which I think, and unless I am missing something here, we need to know that internal process and the scorecards and everything else before we get into the actual interview. Those are the issues that I want to put before the members so that then we allow the next speaker to speak, but having conclude on this one, whether we cannot have a meeting just to conclude those public views and have an understanding as the committee against what is the program on the public participation. We might have, in my view, our personal views, but we need to have a collective view to say, so this NGO raised this, we are fine with it because we have entertained that and we are happy with how we have responded on that, so that we put that into rest, so that whatever comes back later on, we'll have records to speak to the issues of transparency. That's my view, honorable members. If I'm out of order, just rule me out of order, and please come to give the actual guidance. I'm now giving over to honorable members on the matter. Thanks.
Chairperson.
Honorable Chair.
Yes, Honorable Singh, Honorable Somyo, over to you, please.
Chairperson, I think your observations are well founded. That it's fine for administration to be prepared, but I think we have to be psychologically, mentally, and everything else prepared with all the information at our disposal. And what I'm saying is that if comments are allowed until the 14th on Friday, public comments, it leaves a weekend and the constituency day for us to catch up so that we can interview on the Tuesday. I would like to suggest that we delay the interviews to later that week, possibly, even if it's Thursday, so we can have the Tuesday to have our own private meeting and prepare ourselves, for either the Thursday or the Friday in that week. Because our deadline is, I think, sometime end of August. The third term of Parliament ends on the first week of September. So I think we've still got 3 weeks in the third term to give a report to Parliament, which can be the first week of September can be our report to Parliament so that it gets tabled. So I'm just appealing that we just have that little bit of a leeway, because I think at the end of the day, whatever happens here will fall on the shoulders of us who have been entrusted by the National Assembly to make sure this process is fair, transparent, and done in a proper manner. So I'm just appealing that probably we delay the interviews, but we have this meeting that you suggest early in that very week. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Singh. I think we have put a concrete proposal for us. I'll give over to Comrade Somyo, also appealing to him to please speak on Honorable Singh's proposal. Over to you, Honorable Somyo.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable members. In the first instance, I would want to advise the members that on Friday last week, after we had our meeting on AG, we had the sad news of the passing on of one of our members in the committee, Honorable Peter, who is going to be laid to rest tomorrow. On what Honorable Singh is saying, I think he is correct, because at times we must not make those who have been given time to participate on our processes to feel that we have been doing that for just. They must have that feel that indeed we took a respect in a reputable way of what they have poured into the process. So receiving those inputs, dealing with those inputs as the committee, and setting ourselves time for an interview, which is not to be a bit long. It might be on the same week, which probably the support team should look into in terms of our own interviewing sitting. In that way, we would have filled the space for the fact that everyone has been part of that process up to that stage. Indeed, there has been some valued appreciation of such a contribution, and that is on record in terms of the meeting that we have somewhat held. So I support Honorable Singh and yourself, Chair, that we must have that kind of a meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Thank you, honorable, for reminding us about the passing on of Honorable Peter. Thank you, Comrade Somyo. May his beautiful soul rest in peace. I guess I represent all the members in the committee. Honorable members, can we then agree to say we leave it to the team now, Mr. Peter Pan, to consider now, work onto the actual dates on when we can have that meeting before the actual interviews, whether you bring all into one meeting, the response, as well as the internal matters, and we be allowed, as Honorable Singh is suggesting, a space to really bring all of us together. And by the time we get to the actual interviews, we are stronger. We are a team already. We have gelled quite very easily. However, we must get there, having been made psychologically ready, as Honorable Singh is putting it. So we leave it to yourselves to say which would be the best dates. However, I want to strongly suggest, honorable members, that let's avoid Friday in case we have to travel, and Friday becomes a very, very bad day for traveling. So let's avoid Friday. Let's make sure that we play between Tuesday and Thursday for the week where we'll be able to do all this. We might not be able to give the exact dates as members, but we are giving this package to be considered so that Mr. Peter Pan, Paul, and the team can give us the actual dates thereof. I guess we are done with this one, honorable members. And if we are, can I allow now the beautiful lady that was to come and address us? It's Women's Month. We appreciate when a woman is to come and present. It's very rare. You are welcome, ma'am. Happy Women's Month.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Chair Buthelezi, before
Honorable Buthelezi.
My apologies. I just thought if I raise this one, perhaps Ms. Chanas can be in a position to address it as she briefs us. The question of MIE. My question is who is MIE? I think it's very important that as the committee we are taking abreast as far as that is concerned. Who's this company that we are giving such an important responsibility? How long has it been with Parliament and so on and so forth? And again, just to say, I agree with the summary that Honorable Chair and we are giving of the input by Honorable Singh and Honorable Som. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members. Thank you, Chair, for the good wishes for Women's Month. Likewise to yourself and to all the members. So perhaps I should start with the first question raised by Honourable Buthelezi. So MIE stands for Managed Integrity Evaluation. So they're an external company. They are contracted to Parliament. They went through a procurement process. So they verify the qualifications of all candidates, be it candidates that come from the recruitment process at Parliament, or verification of qualifications of applicants who respond to adverts, in this case for the AG. We've just actually completed the NYDA as well as the MDDA board as well. So we verify those qualifications. So the MIE consent form that you receive is, as Mr. Peter Paul said, the candidates gives us permission. So we take that form, including the actual qualifications, and then we submit it to MIE electronically on the portal, and then they independently verify with the respective tertiary institutions. They can do both locally as well as internationally. Qualifications gained internationally. And then also in this particular case for the AGSA, we also suggest that we actually verify the professional membership, because the advert calls for the person to be a chartered accountant. So we won't just verify your qualification, we'll also verify your professional registration with the respective board, which I think is important as well. So that's perhaps just as a brief process in terms of how we follow. So when we submit, they actually come back with we call it a verification report that verifies that, for example, Shanaz Kabir has the master's degree that she says she has, and then we generally put a progress report through to Mr. Peter Paul, who will then send it through to the committee as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Honorable members, that's the response on the questions and further clarification. I just want to raise one technical problem that Honorable Kenny is unable to log in. He also is experiencing some difficulties. We really apologize to him as well as the Deputy Chief Whip. I hope the IT are trying their best to make sure that they are brought in the committee. I really would want to request the IT to do a proper analysis on the platforms we're using. I think it's about time. There are platforms that are quite frustrating us, whereas we know we don't have, there isn't much we can do sometimes about the network, but there are some platforms that are giving us difficulties more than the others without mentioning names. Can that be considered, please? And then welcome the report from the Honorable Lady from HR. Can I allow honorable members to please ask questions, whether we are satisfied on the people who are going to do the work? And I'm not sure if the member did give us the time, since when have we been working with this as Parliament, as Honorable Buthelezi asked. I think those questions are quite important, especially now when the country is having some concern and everybody else some concerns. I think we must be as transparent as we can. So that question of Honorable Buthelezi must be properly responded to, so that you are very clear on how we explain, because that's the gist of the actual work we are going to do. Majority of, I think 90% of the work depends on the process of screening. So I'm not sure if members are satisfied with the response they got from the relevant officials. I'll give over to members to further ask if there are still questions that are not so clear, or if the member is not so clear. I see Honorable Somio's hand is up. Honorable Somio.
Chair, Honorable Chair, and thank you very much, Shanaz. You see, in these processes, I think I wanted to propose that what we dealt with through the proposal of Honorable Singh and we finalized is even more relevant now because the taste of the pudding is in the eating. So that whatever kind of work which has been mined on each candidate could laid, analyzed, and after that analysis, we should satisfy ourselves on such instances. So I think in appreciation, let's indeed allow yourself and the parliamentary staff to work on a day to deal with such a kind of a detail, which is going to form part of that kind of a report. We might ask some questions, but my view is that indeed, without that kind of a detail which is going to assist us on the information which she has laid, which we must work on, it's better to put our hope on the day of such a meeting to fulfill the process. So thank you very much.
I also recognize Honorable Singh's hand.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Singh.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you for that report from Ms. Shanaz. Chairperson, you know, we are fortunate in this committee that we've got ex-premiers, ex-ministers, ex-deputy ministers who may have been involved in these interview processes, earlier. I mean, closer. I was last involved in 2006 when I was an MEC, so it was a long time ago. But I don't know to what extent we have a responsibility to go into detailed backgrounds of the shortlisted candidates. And I'm asking this on advice because we know from the process involved with the interview of the public protector, I mean, there were all sorts of things that were being said. So my earlier question about intelligence report, financial background, active political affiliation, to what extent do we look into those things? Because from what I heard from Ms. Shanaz, we're looking more at the academic verification and authentication of the academic qualifications, but we're not going beyond that. So I'm just asking a loud question. How much beyond that should we go? Because this is a very, very important position that the person is going to hold in the country. It deals with finances, it deals with integrity, morality, everything else. So I'm just putting this aloud for discussion as well and for advice, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you.
Chair Buthelezi.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Singh, Honorable Buthelezi.
My apologies, Comrade Chair. My hand doesn't want to go up today, so I've got that technical glitch. If you could bear with me when I shout to you over the microphone. Chair, the person who must, in fact, let's start by saying, Honorable Singh is spot on. The person that should be appointed to this position must fulfill the condition of fit and proper to occupy this position. And fit and proper, it's much wider than the scope that Ms. Shana spoke about. It's just one part of, it's just one element of a fit and proper definition. The question of appropriate qualification and membership to those institutions. In this case, we are looking at SAICA, I'm sure, because somebody should be a CA. For instance, when you do, it should be a very thorough and broader background check. For instance, there is a security check that should be done on individual. Two, usually such position they will require that you are not insolvent to be there, and so on and so forth. So it's usually quite a wide background check to an individual, a criminal record, so on and on. So the main thing, Honorable Chair, Honorable members, we are looking for a fit and proper person. And what MIE, from what Ms. Shanaza said, they concentrate more on the academic qualifications and membership of these professional institutions. I think the scope must be broader. I'm not very sure, Shanaz, whether they're able to do this, they're able to do these other things. If not, we'll definitely would have to consider, and we have to do that to get another company or body or whatever, even government institution, to check these other elements of a fit and proper person, including, for instance, the political affiliation in this in this instance, active political participation or membership of a person who's going to occupy this this responsibility. Remember, he or she will have to do it without any fear or prejudice when he or she performs the duties. So I just thought, in fact, that's what came out very boldly as Shanaz was busy saying what MIE does, that it looks to be very, very much limited. And I would say, honorable members, through your honorable chair, that we definitely need to increase the scope so that we know exactly what we need, what must be done. And if that's what MIE is doing, we definitely need to find other people who will be able to do the rest of work, which will satisfy the fit and proper person. So Honorable Singh was quite spot on. Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mutulezi. You know, we have agreed earlier on that comrades can just raise their hand by indicating into their mics. You are correct. You are fine by doing so. We have agreed that sometimes you might not quickly look at the chat box. Then honorable members are allowed to just speak over their microphones and say they really would want to speak on the matter. Before, can I give over to the official, Ms. Shanaz, who have just put some explanation whether what is expected of us is for the people that they fall short in what we would want to see. Just indicate whether the EMS or whatever, they fall short on what we would want to see. If yes, how can we make sure that we measure the standards that we have put before ourselves within the legal framework that we have, but using, as I got to understand, Honorable Buthelezi, using all other internal processes that might be on our reach to make sure that we perform this task in a manner that South Africans will be proud of. So I'm giving over to Ms. Shanaz for her to come in and explain whether the people that are given the responsibility will be able to deliver according to what the members are expecting, not just expecting, but trying to meet the best standards this time around. Let's sing.
Thank you, Chairperson. So MIE, they do credit checks as well, but I would like to share with members a couple of, probably about 4 years ago, I supported the Committee on Gender Equality, and what that committee did is actually Parliament then interacted with the State Security Agency to actually do a complete police background check, including a credit check, and then that feedback, when it was completed, was given to a committee in a closed meeting, and I must admit, you know, the information was thorough. It was at the standard that the committee had expected, but that specifically in terms of it went via the state security chairperson and members. So MIE can do a credit check as well, but so we can we can do that. But I just thought it was important to share with members previously. We actually interacted with the SSA, which is the State Security Agency. And then may I just, Honorable Buthelezi asked a question previously, you know, how long has MIE been doing this work to Parliament? They've actually, obviously there's been various procurement processes, but they've at least been with us for about 10 years now in terms of verifying qualifications. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Miss Honorable Official, Ms. Shanaz. I don't hear you saying whether MIE falls short. Therefore, you agree with honorable members that we can bring any other. I want to insist to say any other state institution that can make sure that we come up with the best list of candidates, unless the honorable members are having a problem with how I'm explaining it, so that we don't really say this one only, but any other state institution that can make us to come up with the best, having checked all the issues that the honorable members raised, so that by the time we put a list before us, that list would have gone through all that. Remember, we discuss now in a different platforms where, yes, security sometimes is there, but not all the time, because we discuss in platforms. But if our systems, if we can have systems that can make sure that the product that we would want to see is being taken through those systems. So I want to come back to you to say whether in making sure that we produce what the honorable members are suggesting, you are on agreement that other state institutions, including what you are raising, can be included, so that honorable members can throw those names as we move on, to make sure that at the end, you'll have what the honorable members would want to see as the list of people who might be interviewed and shortlisted and appointed at the end. Honorable Ms. Shanaz?
I am in agreement, Chairperson, that we use both MIE and other state institutions like the SSA to give us the best outcome and appointment that we can be proud of.
Coming back to the honorable members, are we happy, honorable members?
Chairperson.
Mr. Peter Paul? Yes, Mr. Peter Paul, are you indicating you wanting to speak?
Yes, Chair. If I may,
the honorable members,
to cut
just before
the
honorable members, can Mr. Peter Paul please speak?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Chair, a quick one to say that I see Ms. Lagut has finally won the battle against the technological challenges, so she's been able to join us. And then secondly, Chair, I've also just received advice from my managers to say that the issue around state security is, yes, we'll do MIE, but the issue around state security becomes a separate process, that candidates are normally requested to submit fingerprints, and then we request forms for verification from protection services and Parliament, which are then sent to state security for screening, and that the vetting itself at that level is done by the presidency on appointment. To remind members that, of course, that we will be recommending to the president I think it would probably be more than one name. The state security then goes on to do the vetting at that level, and then the president makes the appointment based on the feedback that's received then. So we'll kickstart the process because it takes quite a bit of time. And we'll have our information on MIE, and then we'll kickstart the process to get the information to state security. And then the presidency will complete the process when the vetting is done at that level. Thank you, Chair.
So, if I hear you properly, all that the honorable members are requesting to be done is taken care of in the process that you are outlining, Mr. Peter Paul.
Yes, Chair, I would certainly say so.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm coming back to honorable members. Can I have your views on this? Are we happy? Do you want to add anything? Are we convinced that on the process that Mr. Peter Paul is further outlining, this is what will bring us the outcome that we'd want to see and be proud of? Honorable members?
Chairperson. Honorable Chair.
Yes, Honorable Somyo. Anybody else?
Yes, Honorable please.
Honorable
Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, honorable members. Let's welcome Honorable Deputy Chief Whip. Apologies for the technical glitches. Good that you are in. We are now further discussing the tools that will make us to be able to produce what will be the credible outcome. In addition to the MIE that is being provided by Parliament, which is a norm, honorable members were putting more to make sure that we have an outcome that will be credible. But Mr. Peter Paul and the team were further explaining to say all the processes that the honorable members are talking about are being taken care of in the process up until the office of the president. Now, this is where we are. I thought I must take you through, Honorable Deputy Chief, because it's not your fault that we are unable to log in. You are also welcome, ma'am. Our apologies once again. We are now short of Honorable Kenny Morolong, who is still struggling to log in. We hope he will come in as well. So I had the members. I had Honorable Somyo, Honorable DeVries, Honorable Deputy Chief Whip, in that order, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. In the first instance, we have been entrusted with the responsibility of an appointment through Parliament of the Auditor-General. There's nothing as bad as when your product is thrown out of the window because of something that you would have avoided. And that then kicks into your credibility and the actual credibility of the entire process, which would allow those who had interest either than ourselves in terms of that work to say, hey, wow, this is what would happen in terms of the quality of this kind of work. So let us insist that having the MIE as an institutional appointed team to do their work in the way they have been somewhat appointed without making any amendments. But it is critical for us to ensure that at least there is a window that an individual who has passed through that interview, we would say at least the individual has met in the minimum of ways things that we think are very much critical for a credible individual in terms of that kind of a position. So to leave it up to the end for the president only to do those, well, the president could do that. He is free to do whatever, even in addition to what we have done. But that should not close us away from dealing with the minimums in as far as such instances are concerned. So what Mr. Peter Paul was making reference to in terms of the form filled, getting through the security of Parliament, and allowing vetting to be done later on. I would want to propose that there must be a way that at least there's some vetting a process in one way or the other, which is done together with our own processes. But we don't leave other things up until too late.
Thank you, Honorable Somyo. Honorable De Vries.
Thank you, Chairperson and committee. Good morning to everybody. I just want to support what Honourable Buthelezi and Honourable Singh both were talking about. I think if you look at the Public Audit Act and the Constitution, there are mainly three things which we as committee need to consider when we recommend a suitable candidate for the position of the Auditor General. The one is the specialized knowledge or experiencing in auditing state finances, public administration. I think that is something which is completely checkable, and which the outside consultant and our officials will be able to check with basic references and calls. I also think that checking for the relevant chartered accountant qualification should be easy as well, because to be a chartered accountant, you need to be registered with the relevant chartered accountant association, whether it be in South Africa or in the UK. I see two of our potential candidates are registered in the United Kingdom. But to me, the third and most important one, or not most important one, but a very important one, is that the candidate must be impartial. The Office of the Auditor General needs to remain impartial above all else. And Honourable Singh mentioned that, is it our responsibility to check if they have any political affiliations? And I would argue that it is. I would argue that it must be one of the questions put towards the candidate, that they, whether they hold any political affiliations, and that it must also be checked by the officials and the outside consultants, because technically, if you are affiliated to any political organization, it is impossible to be impartial. You will not be impartial. So I would just like to highlight what Honourable Singh mentioned, and ask Missionars if that is something which they will check for. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable De Villiers. Honourable Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members. My apologies for logging in late. I had to drive to town so that I can do so. Honorable Chairperson, I hear what the honorable members are saying. I want to agree with with everything that they are saying, and also agree with what Honorable Somyo was saying, because we cannot leave that certain background checks will be done when, as and when the name is recommended to the president. So what if the recommended candidate have something that will take us back to square one? I just want to say, Honorable Chairperson, I don't think it will create any challenges if the thorough background check, qualifications, and everything that the honorable members mentioned, all those things are checked before we finalize the process as this committee. And when it arrives at the desk of the president, it will be easier then for the other process to kick in. We, as the ad hoc committee, will know that what we do, the work that we have done is credible, and the candidate that we recommend can stand the test of anything, any background check, any qualification check, anything that might come, so that we can sleep peacefully at night. Then I agree with the honorable member who spoke just now that the candidate must be impartial. All that we need, honorable chairperson, that is a public office, and we need someone who will fit into the shoes of the current Auditor General. So definitely we'll need someone who will do the work for the people of South Africa, not for any political party. So that's my take, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Honorable Chair Buthelezi.
Thank you, Honorable Buthelezi. Over to you. Thank you very much, Honorable de Villiers and Honorable Deputy Chief Whip. I guess, Honorable members, we are going towards a situation where we are suggesting that more should be done in making sure that what we would want to see is happening. Mr. Peter Paul, all we want to do to hear from them is where the difficulties might be. It is possible unless there might be difficulties. We are here, we can meet anytime if there are any, but I guess honorable members are insisting to say, let's make sure that we put everything in place that will make us to have a credible outcome. I think honorable members are consistently raising that. Honorable Buthelezi, please speak. Say.
Honorable Chair, I think we have summarized correctly. Whatever, let's do everything so that when you go to Parliament and say we are not having the buts and the ifs. We say this is the best of the best as far as we're concerned. We have checked all these things. We can't delegate upwards to the president to do the things that we're supposed to do. That doesn't preclude the president from doing whatever check he wants to do. So I think the way that Honorable Chairperson is summarizing, that's our feeling. And just to be specific, is there anything which preclude us from saying that the state security agents should do the rest that we're talking about, so that we're very decisive as far as that is concerned? Is there anything which stops us from doing that as an institution of government? My take is that there is nothing, but I would like to hear the colleagues from the support staff if there's anything, because I would say let's just be very clear that the other things that they thought that it might be done by the president, let's do those things, and the president will still do his things from his side. Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you so much, Honorable Buthelezi. Direct question. Thank you so much to all honorable members. The input are consistent as I've just summarized. Now I'm giving over to Mr. Peter Paul to say what can stop us not to be able to do what we want to do with everybody else falling under our own oversight or responsibility. I'm giving now Mr. Peter Paul to tell us whether there might be a challenge, and if there might be any, what will be that, so that the committee can quickly come up with a solution. Mr. Peter Paul.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, members. I think just as members were speaking, I was also just liaising with Ms. Nomvula Kiba, who is my direct line manager. And she was just sharing some experiences as well, because I know that they were working with the NYDA just recently, but also just her experience from before of the requirements. With your permission, Chair, she is online. I can ask her to just sort of contribute briefly on the matter that is being discussed, to assist members further with more information. She's ready to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Peter Paul. We don't mind to bring in Ms. Nomvula. We in fact really appreciate her, as long as she's going to give us a direct response on all the issues that are being raised by honorable members. Ms. Kiba, I'm bringing you to please speak on the matter. Ms. Kiba, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Apologies for the video from my side. I think I also have a challenge here on my side. Good day to all honorable members. My name is Nomvula Giba, the manager for the committee section staff in the meeting. I thought, Chairperson, is important that I clarify some few issues. There are two issues here. MIE is one service provider that is used for a qualification verification. So for all candidates, there will be a qualification verification solely done by MIE. MIE normally takes a week or two to finish their work, and HR then presents the committee with that particular report. So what they will do, once the committee decide on the shortlist, then HR will be doing the qualification verification, then HR will submit and table before the committee the report of whether all the qualifications as indicated on the CVs, whether they were indeed awarded or not. So that's the report of MIE. Number two, it will be the report of the State Security Agency. Now, State Security Agency reports are twofold. We have the vetting, which is a very thorough and intense process, as members would understand. Then we also have the security clearance. So for filling of vacancies in Parliament, we normally go with security clearance. Now, security clearance is done by the South African Police Services because there is a deadline by which a committee needs to finalize its work. So that is why we recommend security clearance instead of vetting, because vetting takes, it's a thorough process that takes longer than the time of the committee. So security clearance is done by the committee so that at least by the time the committee arrives to a conclusion of who to recommend, we have a clear idea on each candidate, whether that candidate is fit and proper, because the vetting, which is that thorough process, will then be done before the actual appointment is made by the president. Now, how this one is done, the security clearance is done within Parliament. Our own protection services, they provide us with a document which we communicate to each shortlisted candidate, where we ask the candidate to submit to the secretariat their fingerprints, and then we attach a certain deadline there for all candidates. They submit the fingerprints. After that, then we submit the fingerprints to the State Security Agency for the SAPS to do their work. In our planning, Chairperson, we normally ask for about plus minus 2 to 3 weeks for them to do that. But from experience, Chairperson, that process also takes long these days. And from other platforms and other committees that I've been involved in, the committees most likely finalize their work without even having the reports at their disposal, and then the committee then recommends subject to the availability of that report or not. But both processes take their own time, although from our side we plan that at least they must be done within 2 to 3 weeks, but it does not happen the way we want to. But we can assure members that with regard to MIE, that's a reliable one. Once we put the deadline, they do it within the time. But the security clearance for all candidates, it sometimes does not arrive on time up until the date on which the committee finalizes the recommendation. That is why there is also another probability of a vetting at appointment stage. I hope, Chairperson, that I've clarified the matter, and the committee, it's at committee's disposal. Committee can use all these processes to process the filling of vacancies. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kiba. Honorable members, that's the explanation on the capabilities of the Parliament, because I think Ms. Kiba is explaining those, but she also is explaining some difficulties, which I think automatically, as we are embarking on this kind of a task, we must also, Honorable Somyo, as the chairperson of AG, and Comrade Gutelis, there's a need of reviewing this process to include all this that we have spoken about, but also take note of the frustrations that Ms. Kiba is talking about, which, as democracy is growing, we cannot afford. We cannot afford those frustrations as part of the package, because we must have been able to resolve those frustrations if now they become a norm now, as she is reporting. But I want to come back to honorable members, whether we are satisfied with the explanation that Ms. Kiba is giving. Over to you, honorable members.
Honorable Chair.
Yes, I recognize Honorable Deputy Chief Whip. Anybody else?
Singh, Chairperson, after that, please.
Honorable Singh. We see Honorable Kenny seem to be not being able to get him. It's just a pity. Can I get now Honorable Deputy Chief Whip to speak, then later Honorable Singh, so that we can conclude on this matter? In that order, please.
Thank you.
Honorable Buthelezi.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. We heard what Ms. Kiba was explaining to us. But this is the office of the AG, which supports democracy, our constitutional democracy. So, Honorable Chairperson, I would like to think that, to share my thinking with the committee that I think if Parliament can make this as a request to the state security to come on board with the other processes in this process as soon as possible with the other processes when they kickstart, I think this would be able to assist us going forward. Why am I saying so? This position cannot be treated like any other position. Yes, I heard what the Ms. Kiba was saying, that they do due processes like Peter Paul explained, but I just want to think loud, Honorable Chair, that let's try our level best as Parliament to seek the assistance of the state security. Reason why am I saying, Honorable Chairperson, is that the rate of corruption in our country is really, really, really tearing our democracy apart. So we don't want to find ourselves in a situation where a person whom we recommend to the president for appointment as Parliament, that person is found to be having something, a dark cloud over their head. We don't want that. We want a credible process, Chairperson, that we can own up and sleep well at night as members of Parliament, knowing that we recommended a person whom we know that will serve South Africa, the South Africans well. So I'm just saying, Honorable Chairperson, when we were put to this committee of the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, state security came on board. I know they are busy, they have many things that they are dealing with, but with the request of Parliament, they were able to do the work. The turnaround time was very short. So I believe, Honorable Chair, if that request can be made on time, that might assist. What we don't want to see as this ad hoc committee is for a candidate to be thrown out at the tail end, instead of us getting to do the due processes while we still have time, so that we know who are these people whom we are recommending. So if the request can be made directly to the minister in the state security, I believe that that can be done. Nothing is impossible, Honorable Chairperson. Let's not take our previous experiences and bring it here. What we want to see is to have a credible person who will do the work as expected. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Okay.
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chief Whip. I think honorable members agree with you. There was Honorable, somebody was going to speak after you.
Yes, Chairperson, it was me. Thank you. I can't agree more with the Honorable Deputy Chief Whip. She summed it up. We've got to be as thorough as practically possible in this process. And perhaps, you know, when Ms. Giba says 2 to 3 weeks, it's already taking us to the 25th. That's the outer date. So I think it is time for us to reconsider our interview date, but not now, as we move forward. But we must be thorough, as Shange had said, and Medla Kuda had said, we have to be absolutely thorough, and we must err on the side of caution rather than, you know, just trying to go through the motion. Because as far as I can recall, I think the new Auditor General, the current Auditor General term of office ends end of November, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere there. So we've still got time. We've still got some time to play. So let's relook at all these things, but be thorough.
Thank you so much, honorable members. There's nothing to be summarized. Honorable Singh is also emphasizing on what the Deputy Chief Whip spoke about. Now, we leave it to the administration to do all the things that have been suggested by the honorable members. And that's all for us. Honorable members, it also, as Honorable Singh is suggesting, it more influence into the changing of the day and playing now a little bit flexible realization of the actual date and as well as the timelines for reporting back in Parliament. I think we will do that and we'll bring that report to the honorable members, having considered all this that honorable members have raised and emphasized on. But also, honorable members, we can create an impression, as Deputy Chief Whip is suggesting, that there are no allegations about corruption. So we can't raise our, just said, we'll do things as we used to. We must sharpen our tools so that we keep our people having that trust in us, in making sure that whatever is being raised all the time we're aware of and we are equal the task. I think that's the summary of what the honorable members have been emphasizing, which myself will find. We have discussed this, honorable members, and we have concluded on all the matters that we would want to see in this matter. Now, can we now go to the actual item that now talks directly into the shortlisting? Do we agree, honorable members?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Thanks, honorable members. If you are in agreement,
Chair.
Yes, honorable member.
It's me, Chair. I'm sorry to do this. I think I see that Shanaz also has a question for us. Members, please bear with us. We just want, as people must implement this, we want to be very clear on, certainly we get the principle and the overall agreement that we must certainly try our best to make sure that these things happen at this level. Chair, for me, it's just to get clarity that as we look at the dates, we are saying that we can still go on with the information that will be from MIE, and then we will have the interviews, but the committee will not report to the National Assembly on its recommendation until it has received the SSA report. That's what I wanted to understand, so that as we plan, we're on the same page in saying that the processes continue as we are, but that recommendation will not happen until a report on all the candidates from the SSA is received. Chair, I just wanted to get clarity on that one. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Peter Paul. We are not putting anything that says we will not do this until this is being done. But all we are saying is that we must be as thorough according to what we have just raised and agreed on. And we have put suggestions in place that we must consider all those. all we will hear from yourselves is where the difficulties, and where there are difficulties, we would come in resolving those difficulties. And those difficulties should be those that will make us not being able to achieve that what we have discussed and agreed upon. Everything else will fall in. We said what the president and all other processes normally happen, they will. However, we want this to happen so that even members said, we don't want to see this at the tail end, and it would have passed our consideration and it will be found very late. In fact, this person is not supposed to be here. So bring in, and we've agreed that the SAA should be, SSA, I'm sorry, should be the one that must assist in this regard. And I think if we can send that letter today, the relevant person, whether it's speaker, chair of chairs, whoever, send the letter of our request. I guess in 3 days we can get a response. We are sitting here with very strategic, honorable members serving in different committees. We're sitting with the chief whips of my parties that can also assist. Let this task be done by yourselves and come back to us and just give us any difficulties, and we will deal with those difficulties accordingly. But there should be an outcome that we have just discussed and agreed. We don't want to open that for discussions anymore, but we want you guys to go and find a way to implement what we have discussed and agreed. If there are any difficulties, all the political offices are here. They will resolve that matter. But administratively, there shouldn't be any. Mr. Peter Paul?
Noted, Chair. Thank you.
Did I summarize it properly, members, for us? Thank you. I see Honorable.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Now we are going to give over to the team led by Mr. Peter Paul. In there, they are going to take us on the preparations, what they've gone through for them to reach the next list of names that they've put before us. We want them to narrate that because we want to get into record on the processes that they've followed. And we want to ask questions when that time arrives. Then we'll then suggest what will be the way forward. I'm calling upon yourselves, Mr. Peter Paul. You will talk according to who speaks first, or the content advisor in this case. Am I correct? Mr. Peter Paul and the team?
Yes, Chair, you are correct. And in fact, we may as well you'll hand over directly to him.
Thank you very much, content advisor. Over to you, please.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, members of the committee and colleagues. Chair, I'll just be brief and summarize the process. In fact, the submissions that we received for the position of the AG and up to the sorting of the CVs according to the requirements as stated or stipulated in the advert. You will recall, Honorable Chair, that on our first meeting, which we held on 24 June, we agreed that we'll circulate the job advert, of which yourselves, that is the members of the committee, will input and comment on it. And indeed, the members of the committee made their inputs and comment, and we adjusted those inputs and comments accordingly, and of which that culminated to the final draft of the job advert, which was signed by yourself, Chair. And after that, we placed that job advert to the national newspapers and local radios, and invited the public to invited the suitable candidate from the public to apply the position. And we allowed that job advert to run from the period started from 3rd of July to 17th of July, which was approximately 2 weeks. Indeed, by the end of the closing date, which was 17th of July, 2020, we received almost 71 applications from the public. And indeed, those applications were received from people from all walks of life, ranging from stock packers, cashiers, drivers, bus drivers, Honorable Singh indicated in the Friday, up to the CEOs and managing directors of the certain companies. And these occupations were in correspondence with the qualification ranging from matric, national diploma, bachelor degrees, and bachelor certificates up to the PhD level. And what I must highlight is that although the requirement are clearly stipulated in the advert that we need, people should be in possession of a degree or accounting or commerce degrees, let me say so. In particular, much could be master or chartered accountant. But we got a significant applications from various fields, ranging from engineering, science, law, and philosophy. Although there was quite sizable number of the applications that we received that were in possession of a commerce or accounting, which means accounting and or auditing. Chair, we summarize, according to the demographic of those particular applications, we can summarize that, for example, we are arranging the same that the most applicants were received from male candidates, almost half of the 71 applications, which is 39, were received from male applicants, of which female constitute 22, which represent 30% of the applications. And there were others that never specified, which was quite insignificant number of 10. And also in terms of age, we could be seeing the summary of the document that you submitted to yourself, that the majority of 52%, which is majority of the applicants that made their submission, were youth of this country, were received from candidates with ages less of 35 years and below. And also in terms of the qualifications, again, as I stated, we can see that the majority of applications were received from people with other qualifications that are not related to account with commerce, which is accounting and or auditing in this instance. Although there were quite sizable number of applications which were received from applicants with the possessors of master's degree and also chartered accountant, master's degree in auditing or accounting, and even more than, and one of it was possessed a PhD degree, for which we can see on the page 3 of the report that also there was quite number of almost 17% of applicants, which is were 12, which possessed just a bachelor degree. And I think it's worth noting the fact that if you look at that page 3 on the qualifications, people that do possess qualification, our applicants, we could say that from the people that possess chartered accountant and master's degree and above, there were 9, for example, that possess chartered accountant, and for master's degree and above, there were 2. But basically, what I want to emphasize is that on that 2, one of them is also accounted under those that possess a chartered accountant. So basically, we can say the applications that possess master's degree and above and chartered accountant were just 10. That is meaning with applicants that meet the minimum requirement in terms of qualifications were 10. And moving to applicants in terms of their experience, we can summarize, make a sum that 10 of the applicants meet the minimum requirements. That the minimum requirement in terms of experience, which is the specialized knowledge and or special knowledge of and or experience in auditing, state finances, and public administration. And the other 61, which is the significant majority, which is majority of applications or applicants, didn't meet the requirements. These are those applications. Those are applications or applicants that I've mentioned before, that they possess qualification. They possess experience in terms of, they do have experience in terms of cashiers. They are cashiers, bus drivers, and others. And what I also want to highlight in this is that even those in that 10, there are other 3 applicants in that 10 who didn't meet the requirements in terms of qualification. They do possess experience in terms of specialized knowledge and or experience in auditing, state finance and public administration. But in terms of qualification, you find that they just have a honors degree in accounting, but not chartered accountant or master's qualification in accounting or auditing as is equivalent to the chartered accountant. So this is how the summary of the applications. And then after we receive those such kind of applications with such kind of summary in terms of demographic, on the 22nd of July, we met as a support staff for sorting of the applications. We sorted applications, Chair, based on the requirements as stipulated in the job advert. In the main, the requirements are derived from the section 193 of the Constitution, which stipulates that the candidate or applicant, the candidate should be a South African citizen and also possess a chartered accountant qualification or equivalent, and also have a specialized knowledge and or experience in auditing, state finances and public administration. So we sorted out those applications, those ones that meet those all requirements that I've just mentioned, as I said, are derived from the section 193 of the Constitution, which were part and parcel of the job advert, the requirement of the job advert. So we made sure that we put the list of those candidates that meet those minimal requirements as stipulated in the job advert. And it is just sorting. So I just want to be clear on this point that it should be by no any means this can be construed, this list of that we did as a shortlisting. It's just a sorting because the committee, the responsibility or mandate to shortlist lies within the committee. It's just we're assisting the process here. We're just assisting the process. So out of the 71, we sorted the names. We come up with the 7 names that meet the minimum requirements or the requirements stipulated in the job advert. Those names are as follows, and we attach as annexure 1. I think those names are as follows, those 7 names. Can you copy PP? I see that we're projecting. The name number 1.
Are they on the same document?
Yes, now I'm in names.
Oh, okay. Let me go back.
The 7 sorted.
Okay, let me find my document that speaks to the names.
Thank you, PP. Chair and honorable members, then according to our sorting, according to us, that is after we have looked on the on the CVs of the candidates vis-a-vis with the requirements as stipulated in the job advert. We came up with these 7 names as the name that will meet with that name that meet the minimum requirements as stipulated in that job advert. Now, the first name is the name of Mr. Michael Sass. Mr. Michael Sass is a chartered accountant, as is reflected there. He possesses experience in terms of specialized experience and knowledge in terms of auditing, state finance and public administration. Mr. Sass has worked as a DDG, Deputy Director General in the Gauteng Provincial Government, in Gauteng, under Gauteng Audit Service. He has also worked as a Deputy Director General in the National Treasury in 2013 to 2015, and currently he is a CFO of National Health Laboratory Services. We have got Dr. Moses Garcia, which is he is having he possesses a chartered accountant but in UK, and is also having a PhD in I think in finance, and he has worked. He is currently employed by Premier Northern Cape Premier as a chief financial officer. He has worked in various institutions, government institutions like Eastern Cape Provincial Treasury and the Justice Department of Justice as a director in finance, and Eastern Cape he is also, as I said, is also in the Cape Provincial Treasury. We have got Miss Rachel Galadis, who is also possess a chartered accountant. Is also in possession of chartered accountant. She is a registered chartered accountant, and she has worked as a chief financial officer, CFO, in the Mpumalanga Economic Growth Development Agent. He has also worked as a CFO as a manager of finance in the Mpumalanga Agricultural Development Corporate Agents. Yes. We have got Mr. Shabir Khan. Mr. Shabir Khan is also registered chartered accountant. He has worked in Auditor-General of South Africa before, AXA. He is currently a CFO in the Department of Trade and Industry. We have got Professor Tangiso Mului. Professor Tangiso Mului is having a master's degree in accounting. Is having a PhD in finance. Is a professor in VETS. Mr. Tangiso is also he is also in his CV cited that is also providing advisory and consulting in the government and departments. We have got Ms. Tsakane Maluleke. Ms. Tsakane Maluleke is also registered chartered accountant. She is currently DAG, Deputy Auditor General. Since 2014, she joined the Auditor General in 2012 as a national leader audit service. She has worked before in government institutions like ECTC, Eastern Cape Development Corporation. We have got Mr. Zakaria Hussein. Mr. Zakaria Hussein is also he's himself also a registered chartered accountant. He has worked. He has been appointed. He has worked as a HOD in Provincial Treasurer of Western Cape before being appointed as a HOD in the Provincial Treasurer of Western Cape. He was appointed as a DDG, responsible for governance in the Provincial Treasurer of Western Cape. So, General, these are the people that we shortlisted and found, as I said before, that their CVs were found that are meeting the minimum requirement as stated in the advert. As I also alluded on those minimum requirements that are derived directly from Section 193 of the Constitution, and I've mentioned them. And thank you, Chair. I think this is where I end.
Thank you very much, sir, for that explanation. I will now give over to honorable members to ask questions, one on the process, but also indicate whether the process you are satisfied with, and also please speak on the names. I'll give over now, honorable members.
Honorable Chair.
Thank you. I recognize Honorable Deputy Chief Whip. Over to you, Deputy.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. We welcome the presentation by the Secretariat. Also, Chairperson, just to indicate that we're supposed to have this meeting on Friday. After receiving the documents on Wednesday night, Then we requested in that meeting that we really appreciate the information that we got from the Secretariat. Hence, as members who are bestowed with the responsibility of making sure that we have a credible process, we requested that we must be allowed to go back and relook into these the applicants, all of them, and also to do some thorough work in this regard. What we did, Honorable Chairperson, we did go through all the 71 applicants. We agree with what is presented, that most of them are bus drivers, cashiers. They are just they applied for the sake of applying. But we came across the 7 names who have vast experience in the public sector, and they are well qualified for this as per the advert of this position of the AG. So I want to say, Honorable Chair, from my side, I do agree with what is presented here, because we have been given enough time to go through and satisfy ourselves. So as from our side, this is what we agree upon. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chief Whip. That's some input. Any other taker on the matter, honorable members? I see there are 2 hands. There are 2 hands. There is Honorable De Villiers' hand, as well as Honorable Naren Singh's hand. In that order, please, honorable members.
Chairperson.
Yes, ma'am.
I've raised my hand.
Honorable Peters will be the 3rd person to speak. Over to you, honorable members, in that order, please.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for the Secretariat for the all the work that was done. I think it is a very thorough process. I appreciate the way that they've compiled the control list, and also I think it's a sensible way in which they've complied the shortlist. I have 3 questions on how they put the list together. My first question is, if you go to the control list and you look at candidate number 13, Mr. Edmund Shoko Lekule, it seems to me that that candidate is a registered CA and has also worked in the office of the Auditor-General, but he's not been included on the list. And in my opinion, it looks like both his qualifications and experience meet the minimum requirements to be on the shortlist. So that would be my first question. So it's candidate number 13 on the control list, which was given to us. And then the candidate number 4, Mr. Shabir Khan, on the control list, it doesn't show that he's a chartered accountant, but on the short list, it says CA next to his name. So I would just like that cleared up. I would like to understand why it does not say registered CA on the control list, but it does mention it on the list. And then my third question is Professor Tankiso Moloi, who's been shortlisted but is not a registered chartered accountant. Although he is very experienced or academically qualified, I have it, and in our document it says one of the conditions for employment is that the person must be a chartered accountant or possess equivalent qualifications. But in my mind, there's no equivalent qualification if you're going to be the Auditor-General of South Africa. You have to be a chartered accountant, at least in my mind. So those are my 3 questions. Why has not candidate number 13 not been included? Is Mr. Shabir Khan in fact a registered chartered accountant? And do we need to include Professor Malloy, even though he is not a chartered accountant? Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mr. de Villiers. The next speakers, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable de Villiers has made my task very easy, Chairperson, because when I was doing my notes here, exactly 13, but thank you to the team for doing this. They've done excellent work, like I said on Friday. I'd just like some reason why Mr. Shoko Lekula has not been included in the shortlist. And then I'd just like them to answer two general questions. What is an equivalent to a CA? You know, when you go for these ratings to this organization, they say level 10, level 12 qualification. What is an equivalent to a CA? Because as Honorable de Villiers said, a CA is a CA. Right? And then I have a particular problem with the academic, number 5, as Honorable de Villiers said. Well qualified, but an academic. And one of the requirements in our advertisement says experience in auditing state finances, specialized knowledge in auditing. Now, I note that there isn't that specialized knowledge in auditing, and maybe with some of the other candidates as well, they're more financial people rather than audit people. But I'm prepared to give them the benefit of the doubt and let them go through the process, of being interviewed. For example, Mr. Shabir Khan, from what I see, is a CFO, is a finance person and not an audit person. But I suppose it's like, bread and butter. They go together. So that's why I'm saying I'm prepared to give those people the benefit of the doubt. Ms. Chalidas doesn't seem to have the necessary experience, but let's just see what happens in the interview, because there's only 2 females, and I think we must give the females an opportunity. But going back, number 13, why has been excluded? What is the equivalent? And Professor Tanki, so I have a bit of a problem on that one, unless I'm convinced otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Singh. I guess Honorable Peters.
Chairperson, I think Honorable Singh has covered me with regard to the, I think it's number, is it Kalidas? Yeah. And then my other issue, if I take into consideration what honorable members have already raised with regard to, it's with regard to the team, maybe they can inform us why we seem to be very limited in terms of women, and also a lack of understanding on my part, just clarity. Why is it Malulek? Yeah. Is she then also classified as external? Maybe I need to just be helped to understand. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, yes.
I just wanted to indicate that the numbers of 7, although a good number, it's very small for us, for a pool to select from, but it's good. Let's go with the 7 that has been selected.
Thank you very much, Honorable Peters. And if there's no other take from members, can we go back to the admin staff for them to clarify some of the direct questions? If you're in agreement, yes, Mr. Peter Paul and the team.
Thank you, Chair. If I could, Mr. Mkaj, I'm going to certainly hand it over back to Mr. Mkaj to speak to some of the questions. I think he'll be able to respond to them. One I wanted to correct, because that one is an oversight on my part, a question by Mr. de Villiers. Say my apologies. Indeed, Mr. Shabir Khan is a CA, and that should reflect on the control list. We'll correct that. It is on his CV. of course, like all the others, will be verified by the company that does the verifications. And I think, Chair, as you had introduced the team, I am going to really ask them to feel free to share with members the thinking that went through the entire process, because it was truly a team effort. And we're happy that members are accepting it well. So any one of them, after Mr. Mkhaji, if they feel the need to come in, then please do so. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just take the first part, and then the colleagues, if I omitted anything, they can add from what I'm going to say. Starting from the Shabrish Khan issue, I think Peter Paul have clarified on it. He's a chartered accountant. Coming to another question, what is equivalent to chartered accounting? To us, we come up by saying that we agreed that what is equivalent to a chartered accountant will be masters in accounting or auditing. Why? Because in order the route to a chartered accountant, you must have a B degree and honors or CTE in accounting. After that, you write a board paper for chartered accountant. So after it, you must have the requirement, you must have honors in accounting or CTE, which is a theory of accounting. So we say something which is beyond the honors, which that's why we come out say that could be masters in accounting and or auditing. Secondly, the issue of candidate number 13, we discussed that candidate. The reason that we didn't put on that list of 7 is because of the experience. The candidate number, this candidate was a manager in AXA. So a person who's a manager in AXA is a person who's in a very low position. Because they are still a senior manager, they are still a national manager, they are still a deputy OG. So, and it's like if I insinuated honorable members and chair to a department, we have got the assistant director, we have got a deputy director, we have got a director, we have got a chief director, we have got a DDG, we have got a DG. So this person is like a assistant director, or in the level of say deputy director, which is very far as junior. That's the reason why we didn't shortlisted, put in the shortlisting. I mean, not shortlisting, this sorting of 7. What did it shortlist with this sorting of? So we said it is. We said no, it doesn't comply or certify with the experience in terms of state finance, public administration experience. But yes, we agreed that he's certified the requirements in terms of qualification because it's a chartered accountant. And Professor Dangiso, as I indicated when I was presenting, that he possessed masters in accounting. That's the reason why we said he's certified in terms of qualification. And I also mentioned the fact that in his CV it is said that is also providing advisory and consulting in the state departments. That's what he says. So we say that that is experience in that instance, because you can't provide advisor and consult in the public department, but you don't have experience in state finance and public administration. So it is on those bases that we included. And I'm not sure whether I omitted another one, but I think these are the 7 candidates. I also wanted to comment from what Honorable Piers was saying, because I think even the current AG, I was also in the part and process of the support team. I think the number was even more or less the same in terms of the candidates that we sorted. I mean, the pool, in terms of the pool, and also the candidate that we sorted. I think we interviewed 6 last time in this current AG. And I think basically this is what I can say, Honorable Chair. Thank you. And unless there's something that I omit or my colleagues will feel that there's some important issue that I omitted or not explained thoroughly. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mr. Mqaji. From the team, any additional information from the team?
No, Chairperson.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We are there. I see that 2 hands that are being raised. Can the first hand please speak? I'm not sure whether it's members or the admin staff. Whoever those people are, can you please speak? The first one, please.
It's Mr. Singh and Mr. de Villiers.
On de Villiers, it was you first. You go.
Thank you,
Okay,
Chairperson. Thank you, Honourable Singh. I'll be quick, Chairperson. Thank you very much. I just want to say that I am comfortable with the explanation on candidate number 13. If it was a very junior position in the AGSA, then maybe that is not enough experience. I would just like to say that when it comes to the equivalent qualification of a chartered accountant, one of the things that we must remember is that a master's degree is purely academic. So it's just someone who's done the additional postgraduate time to further themselves more academically. But a chartered accountant did 3 years of being a clerk, where he or she worked as an auditor in an auditing firm, because you cannot register as a chartered accountant unless you firstly completed the degree, also the honors degree, and then also written your board exams. But very importantly, did 3 years of being a clerk in an audit firm. So there's having a master's degree is not equivalent to actually having worked as an auditor and having put in the time in the industry. And I cannot agree that having a master's degree is equivalent to being a chartered accountant. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think I was next. I also agree with Honourable de Villiers that I still have my doubts about Professor Malloy. But even on 13, Chairperson, the person is a chartered accountant. The person, according to Toli there, is a manager. Nowadays teachers apply to be principals of schools, and it's an accepted thing. An ordinary teacher in the lowest level are principals of schools because it's a given thing. SATU and everybody else accept that, and the teacher unions. So I don't think a person should be punished because of the hierarchical, shape in the current organization that the person serves. So I'm just saying that I don't know this person. I'm not talking from that, but I'm saying to say to a person, yes, you are a chartered accountant, yes, you are an auditor, you're working in the office of Auditor-General, but because you are a manager, you have to still go up the ladder. It might be a bit uncomfortable, and not fair. So I'm just appealing that if we can include that person and reconsider the academic professor with the masters. Thank you. But it's left to the committee. We can be convinced. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Singh. There are those 2 contributions, honourable members, which for me, I don't think they are a train smash. One, it was clarification, but if in the center of that, there are suggestions of putting more than what we have, and there are motivations on that. And we have agreed that at least 7 is too little. However, it's quality, I'm sorry. I don't think it should be a train smash to consider names that members are insisting to say they must be brought to the list. Because we must all agree, this is one committee that we must all agree on whom we bring into the list so that we can find the best candidate in the process. I want more hands because there are no contradictory views here, honourable members. Can I get more hands?
Chairperson Buthelezi.
Honourable Buthelezi. Anybody else? Okay.
Deputy Chief Whip, sir.
Deputy Chief Whip. Any other person? Honourable members?
Vessels, please.
Somyo, Chair.
Somyo. And who else?
Wessels?
That honorable member will be the last one to speak on the matter, so that we can now conclude. Let's give over now according to how they've raised their hands. Honorable members to speak, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I think I would like to support the addition of a CA who was left out of the of the shortlist. Thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Chair.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Chief Whip, you can speak.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Like you said, there's no train smash in adding that name. It must be added, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chief Whip. The next speaker, please, which is Honorable Somyo.
No. I think they've, for me, they've closed through that proposal. So I accept the proposal by the two honorable members.
Thank you very much, Honorable Somyo. Any other member that would like to speak on the matter?
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. I also want to agree with the addition and the inclusion of Mr. Shoko, and I think that would be good. But I also want to agree with Honorable Singh that I am concerned with the inclusion of Professor Malloy with regards to his lack of audit experience. And I also want to raise that concern. I think we should actually leave him out from the shortlist, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Wessels. Thank you for that contribution. I'm still worried, I don't hear the progress that the IT is making in bringing in Honorable Morolong Kenny. If Mr. Peter Penn can please indicate whether they cannot now bring Honorable Kenny Morolong into the meeting. Can the IT please indicate?
Chair, I will call Mr. Morolong because the challenge we have is he's online. Maybe I just need to understand from him what exactly is the issue. Is it because the microphone issue, or? But even our last meeting, he was able to join. I'm not sure if it's the audio. Let me call him and actually connect him with the IT people, because he is in the meeting as we speak. I'm sure he can hear us. Let me just find out what technically it is that is the challenge, Chair, as you continue.
Thank you very much, honorable members. I think we are almost concluding the list. Remember, we agreed that we take what has been presented to us by the admin staff. However, we had questions of which there is satisfactory answers, but if in principle, we agree that we take the list and bring in number 13, whom was left. I think, honorable members, we then said, because the list itself was short, but it doesn't much we can do. However, for the names that we think they can still come in, let's agree that they come in, not because we want more numbers, but for us to find the best candidate. So I would really want to summarize the discussions in that manner, honorable members, that we have discussed and agreed that we consider the list as it comes. We also consider number 13. We clarify the questions that were asked. We give more information on our knowledge insofar as what else that talks to the, if you are not a chartered accountant, what can then be equal to that? There's an explanation to that. There's an experience from Mr. Mgaji. And for me, that concludes the debate or the discussions on the names. Am I summarizing correctly, honorable members?
Yes, honorable chair.
Yes, honorable chair.
Thank you so much, honorable members. I appreciate these inputs. That takes us to the next item. Now, the logistical arrangements for the actual interviews. In the last meeting, honorable members, we suggested the committee section to check whether we cannot be in a central venue so that we don't experience these technical glitches, and we can find everybody in time with nothing that will make our work to be nothing negative. So can I get to hear from Mr. Peter Paul and his team on how far did they go so that the members can go to hear and they will indicate to the admin on what that will be the situation insofar as individual members are concerned. We've changed the date a little bit later than the 18th due to the work that we've outlined, and that talks to the last thing that we need to do, presentation of our report to Parliament. Then the admin staff would work within those parameters. But now we're going to the actual logistic arrangements to the actual interview. I'll give over to Mr. Peter Paul. Over to you, Mr. Peter Paul.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, members. The information, I think members will remember that we had touched on the issue, and I think from what we got the last time was that in principle, members were in support of an idea where a central location would have to be found, but of course it was important where and start thinking around that, Chair. So we have certainly consulted and just in line with the in-principle agreement, Chair, I wish to propose that on whatever date that we'll meet after the meeting, and then we'll relook at the program and how we move forward. That Johannesburg, for me, I'd like to put it as a central point in this regard. I'll tell you why, Chair, that even with the addition of an 8th candidate on our A list, I can safely say that 6 of the 8 candidates are actually based in Gauteng. And also looking at where the members are coming from, I think it'll be easier to get them that side. The 2 other candidates are only one is from the Northern Cape, and the other from the Western Cape. Actually, it's 5 of 8 because the other one is from Mpumalanga. 5 of 8 candidates are from outside of Gauteng, but 5 are based in Gauteng. And so, Chair, on whatever date that will be proposed and agreed to by the committee, I'd like to propose Johannesburg. Of course, then the logistics, we had written to members through the committee assistant and the request, and I hope members have responded to that request. If they haven't, I plead that you please do, just to inform us first for our records of where your home addresses, what your home addresses are, and so we know where you travel from for now and future purposes. So that information is needed, and then we will actually, as we have before, come up with a solid proposal on the travel arrangements, on what will happen on the day. I know that Mr. Singh had proposed, and it was agreed that the committee, it would make sense for us, prudent, to actually have a meeting as a committee first, just to make sure that all is in order well before those interviews actually take place. Chair, that is the proposal, and would appreciate members just giving us the green light to go ahead and implement that, so that we can get the administrative processes in motion. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Paul. Honorable members, that's the brief on the logistics insofar as the actual day of interviews is concerned. I'll take hands from the honorable members. in a manner that honorable members would have raised their hands. You are still, one person's hand is up. Anybody else? It's going. It's
Me in.
is that
Me in.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Whip. Any other name? Any other name is going, and it's gone. Thank you so much, honorable members. Those two hands, please.
Chairperson, thank you very much. No, I think as we had agreed, it should be a physical interview because it makes it much easier for us to interact with the candidates. Perhaps the team must consider a hotel at the airport or a conference center at the airport in Johannesburg so that we don't have to travel as well. And we could come in the night before and have a meeting and then start with the interviews early in the morning and then take it from there. But something closer to the airport, I'm just suggesting, or at the airport, there are hotels there with conference venues, as long as they're suitable for the social distancing, etc. Thank you. And media.
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you, Honorable Singh. Honorable Deputy Chief Whip.
Thanks, Honorable Chairperson. I just want to support what Honorable Singh suggested. Venue at the airport, that is supported, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Singh and Honorable Deputy Chief Whip. If there's no any other hand on the matter, we will expect honorable members to respond to the admin to indicate where they will be flying from. We take into consideration the venue proposed and all other logistical arrangement. We also take into consideration the proposal that we must just meet before we go to sleep on the day, so that we wake up knowing very well where the venue is and all other logistical arrangements, whether we would have met all the regulations as we are still under disaster management, under different legislations. Honorable members, if there's no other hand on the matter, I guess that was the last item on our agenda.
Chairperson?
Yes, Honorable Buthelezi.
Yes, Chairperson, there's a matter I wanted to raise, and I don't think it was in the agenda. Please rule me out of order if I am. Without getting into the questions, General, I've got a problem about preset questions, but I think we've agreed that's what we are going to do. But I just wanted to check when are we going to have sight of that? That's one. But two, broadly speaking, I would like to hear from the team what areas they'll cover. Not about questions, areas generally that for such a position that you'll cover. We do have some thoughts, but I just wanted to check with the team if that's acceptable with your chair.
Thank you, Honorable Buthelezi. I guess it's quite acceptable. You should not guess what we will find there without getting into the details. You are correct. Let's get to hear from the team then. I'll give over to the team, please, to respond to the questions.
Thank you.
Go, Mr. Mpaje.
Thank you, Chair. I think we have in fact what we did previously. In fact, this what was also the thinking now. In the previous appointment of AG, we categorized question into three categories, which was leadership, technical, and behavioral. So we apportioned weights in those particular three categories. That was our thinking, is also even our thinking now going forward, that this is what we're going to do. To have a question under leadership, technical, and behavioral. Thank you, sir.
And Chair, maybe just to
yes,
add,
Honorable.
that I know that I speak for everyone as well, that covers the question that Mr. Buthelezi has put us on the spot for. But also to just say that those are the areas indeed, but I think by no means would we ever say that members will be forced to stick to those areas. So of course members will do their own preparation, because it's very important that they do, and ask the questions that they want to ask. And on the issue of the when, I'm not sure, Chair. I think as we have before, like the last meeting, I would just like to include that as part of the package. Last week, I wrote to you the next day and I said, this is a proposal. If I may be given that opportunity to do the same, Chair, say, in terms of the administration, in terms of when certain things will be received, I will report to members again no later than tomorrow on the way forward from now on.
Thank you, Mr. Peter Pan. Mr. Peter-Paul, I'm sorry. Are we fine, Honorable Buthelezi? I'm not putting you on the spotlight, but I think we had a relevant question. Are you fine with the explanation?
Yes, I would like just to add one thing, Chairperson. Let's say leadership and management. On the leadership category.
Okay.
They are related.
Yes, they are. Anything else, Honorable Buthelezi?
That's it from my side, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you so much. Thank you so much from the team.
Thank you, Honorable Buthelezi, for that relevant question. Honorable members, if there isn't anything, we all satisfied, we'll prepare ourselves, we'll meet a night before the actual interviews. There'll be correspondence to and fro. Let's please respond to what they would need in preparation for logistical arrangements. And honorable members, that brings us to the end of today's meeting. I really want to take this opportunity first to apologize to Kumri Deputy Chief Whip, particularly to Honorable Morolong, that who has not been able to log in. As I said earlier on, we wish to put this to IT, that this matter must be resolved. It cannot be that one of us is unable until the end to log in. I think there should be a solution on that. But for Honorable Deputy Chief Whip, who came in late for the same reason, we apologize profusely so. I want to thank all members who made this meeting to be this fruitful. I guess we are now fine to get into the actual task. We have sorted everything else that might be a challenge on our way. We are fine now. Thank you so much. Thank you for your contributions, quite extensive knowledge from yourselves. Thank you so much. The meeting is now closed. Thank you so much, honorable members.
Thank you, Chairperson. Bye-bye, colleagues.
Thank you, Chair. My colleagues would like to have a word.
Bye-bye, Ma. Bye-bye. Look after Mpumalanga there.
Everybody, please keep safe.
Okay.
Honorable Chair.
Yes.
Honorable Morolong was with us. The only thing he has been writing on the screen that he's with us is understanding. He has everything that we are saying and he concurs with the decision of the committee. I was just reading on the site. Thank you.
Oh, for record purposes, Honorable Buthelezi, thank you so much. It's important for us to go on record to say it has been taken care of. Thank you so much, Honorable Buthelezi. Honorable members, goodbye.
Bye.